to Legislative Report. I'm State Representative Kate Harper of the 61st District in Montgomery County. And today we're actually on location at a Montgomery County institution, Freddy Hill Farms on Sumneytown Pike in Tomenson Township. I'm here with the farmer, Vern Sight. And we're going to be talking about farming in Pennsylvania and farming in Montgomery County. And yes, it's still possible, but it's very different than it was several generations ago. Vern, welcome to the program.
Hi, nice to be here. It's my pleasure.
Well, I'd like to get our guests to say a little bit about themselves so that the people at home watching know who you are. So tell me how you came to be here at Freddy Hill.
Well, this has been my family farm since I was born. My dad and granddad farmed here for a little while before that. Previous to that, they had the adjacent farm just down the road. Fourth generation farmer, grew up in the same house I live in now. Fourth generation Penn Stater, as is the rest of my brothers and one of my sisters. And we currently have a family partnership here on the farm with my two brothers and myself.
And many people in the community still know your dad, Fred.
Absolutely.
How's he doing?
Fred's doing well. He turns 80 on the 10th of May, which is tomorrow, and he's doing quite well. He's technically retired, but he still comes to work just about every day, and today he's on the road going for tractor parts, so
all right,
still active.
Part of the deal.
Yep.
Now, we will be talking about farming in Pennsylvania generally, and as I mentioned to you, often kids don't realize that farming's very big in Pennsylvania because they hardly see any farms in Montgomery County.
That's probably very true, and from the time I was born till now, that whole situation has changed a lot. There used to be quite a few farms in Montgomery County when I was a child. Not so much anymore. Development, suburban sprawl, all those things have taken a toll. A lot fewer farmers, and those that have remained have to do things a little differently now to stay in the area.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. When your dad was running the place, what was the big farming, I guess, product that you guys were producing here at Freddy Hill?
Well, we were dairy farmers literally until 3 years ago when we sold the dairy herd. When Dad first got out of Penn State back in the mid-50s, really all he was interested in was being a dairy farmer and milking cows. And he took his college education and worked with his dad, my granddad, for several years, and then worked on buying him out and buying the farm and taking over control. But actually the transition in the business model started even then. Shortly after my parents bought the farm, the dairy store became part of the equation. They borrowed a lot of money at the time and built a processing plant. We expanded the dairy herd and started retailing our dairy products right to the public instead of going to the co-ops.
Especially your ice cream.
Well, the ice cream we always have had, but it wasn't our own in the beginning. We bought ice cream in private label, and it was always a hit, and we always tried to buy product that was of good quality. But later on, it became obvious it would be better for us to make our own. We could guarantee that quality more readily, and have a lot more options with flavors and ingredients and that kind of thing. So that
Are you still
developed.
making your own even though you don't have the dairy herd anymore?
We are. We buy in raw milk now. We still bottle milk, pasteurize and homogenize and bottle milk. And we also make our ice cream start to finish, starting with the base ice cream mix. And then we freeze it down with all the good flavors that get added in and all the variety that we have to offer.
Now, especially in the summertime though, people know Freddy Hill for what the experts would call agritainment,
yes,
or your mini golf right here.
Exactly.
So we're standing in front of the mini
Yep.
golf. So can you tell our viewers a little bit about how the mini golf works with the farming?
Sure. Agritainment has become a bigger and bigger part of the ag industry, especially in suburban areas like Montgomery County. When we first went into the retail business, that was okay, that was enough. It was enough to sustain the business. The added profits that were made available by going right to the consumer were adequate to maintain what the family needed to keep going. As my brothers and I came home from college, we tried to expand a little bit and keep that going, but given the limitations of the cost of land and the diminishing farmland available in the area, even for on a rental basis, expanding the dairy herd wasn't really a very practical way to go. So we started looking at other things, and that's how really the golf center was born.
And the golf center helps you keep the farm profitable.
Absolutely. I mean, in some ways it's a very separate business, and the public may see it that way, but on the other hand, it's the same family, it's the same partnership that's operating there, and the two work so nicely together. Ice cream and miniature golf are a natural. And
everybody has the ice cream as soon as they finish the round.
And that's part of our plan, and we love it.
All right, now I know that you also do crop farming.
We do. For a while, in the years that we had the dairy cows, most of the crops that we grew, primarily corn and alfalfa, were intended for the dairy herd. If we had surplus grain, then we might be able to sell cash grain at the end of the season. Now that the cows are gone, most of that cropland has, although it's still in corn, it's corn now for grain for sale rather than corn for silage for the cows.
Well, many people are part of, at least philosophically, the farm to table movement, and they like to buy the corn close by. Do you think it's better?
That's true, and there is a trend in that way. It's a little problematic sometimes. Sweet corn sweet corn is tough to grow sometimes, and in small plots you've got raccoons and that kind of thing. And
they also want their cut, huh?
They also want their cut, absolutely they do. And so some markets are closer than others, and that was one area we decided we probably couldn't stay in very well. We did grow sweet corn for a number of years, and then found it easier and probably more profitable to buy it from another local supplier, not quite right in our backyard, but not far away.
Now, you farm not only your own ground, I guess you have 40 acres here?
The home farm, there's probably 40 to 50 acres of cropland. We also rent another probably 150, 180 acres additionally from neighbors, and we travel 5, 6, 7 miles to some of that ground. Just ground that's not being developed, and the landowners want to keep it clean and neat and productive.
All right, let's talk about the challenges of farming 100 acres that are not all right here in Montgomery County.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is traffic.
Sure, traffic is the first thing that comes to mind on any subject.
It seems like
in Montgomery County, right?
But, going so far from home and relatively small fields, we have fairly large equipment for the width of the roads, and our farm vehicles don't travel all that quickly, and traffic has increased in the area exponentially, I think, in the last 20 or 30 years. And so it's a challenge, and I think generally our neighbors and friends that we drive with on the highway and share the highways with have been very patient with us, and we plead for more patience, but it's an issue. We do our best to avoid drive time and the high traffic flow times of the day. It's not always possible, but it is a problem, something we deal with.
So let me ask you, Vern, you get on a tractor yourself?
Once in a while I do, believe it or not. Yep.
Okay, you enjoy that?
I do. That's actually, good field work is one of my favorite things to do. I don't do as much as I used to, and we share those responsibilities around between my brothers, and sometimes it's my turn and sometimes it's not.
Okay. Now, some people think that it's impossible to continue farming in Montgomery County. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't think it's impossible. It's certainly challenging. The agritainment component for us has been a big part of the solution to that.
That's agriculture and entertainment combined,
Exactly.
like your mini golf.
Exactly. And that also takes other forms, and something else we do in the month of October and in the fall is our Fall Fest, which circles primarily around pumpkins. Everybody loves pumpkins, and we grow pumpkins. We have weekend activities here at the Fall Fest celebration, and pick your own pumpkins and pony rides and lots of good things to eat, and that's been a big hit and a big success for us for also a fairly long time. I think we're into our 27th or 28th year of Fall Fest now.
All right, and what do people do with the pumpkins? You grow them and then they buy them here, what else?
Well, it's mostly Halloween.
Sure.
Pumpkins are like Christmas trees on the day after Christmas. it's all about Halloween, and pumpkin sales and decorating the home with the fall fall components starts even in September. As soon as Labor Day comes around, people are starting to think about decorating for the fall.
And they can get that stuff here.
Yes, yeah, we may not have it available the day after Labor Day, but usually by mid-September we've got pumpkins and corn stalks, and mums, hardy mums are always a big hit, and that kind of thing.
Sure.
Yep.
So you've actually changed the farm so that you're actually meeting the consumer's demands, I guess.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
They want ice cream, so you're still doing that.
Yep.
And they want entertainment, so you've branched into that area.
We learned a long time ago, and this was one of Dad's mantras, I guess, you either change or you die in a business setting. And he was very good at understanding the need to change early on, therefore the dairy store and the processing plant and that rather large step at the time. And he kind of drilled that into us as boys, and we've understood that and tried to keep attuned to what parts of our business work best and go with that.
All right, in the second half of our show, we are going to be talking about farming in Pennsylvania generally. Do you have a perspective on farming in the rest of the state that you want to share with the viewers here?
Well, I don't know. I don't know that I have any firsthand experience, but I'm jealous in some ways.
Because they have bigger
because they have bigger fields and more acreage available, and farming, and when you get right down to it, is what we love to do the most. Of all the things we do, that's kind of the root of our existence. But we've changed over the years, and it's been good. It's been a good change. We've been successful financially, and another challenge is what's next, the next generation.
Right, are they Penn Staters, the next
well,
generation?
most of them are Penn Staters, but not too many of them are wannabe farmers. So I'm not sure what that'll bring in the next 20 years. But
well, as long as you have somebody in the family who can still make ice cream, I think it'll be okay.
I think we can guarantee that. One way or another, we'll guarantee that.
All right, well, that's good to know. My guest today has been Vern Seif. I'm here at Freddy Hill Farms in Tolmenson Township, right on Sunnytown Pike. Summer's a great time to visit Freddy Hill and the other local farms in the area. Keep watching. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back to talk about more on farming in Pennsylvania.
Did you know that the Pennsylvania Farm Show's history goes all the way back to 1851? Originally organized as a state fair by the Pennsylvania Agricultural Society, it was discontinued in 1899. It wasn't until 1916 that Charles Patton, the Pennsylvania Secretary of Agriculture, worked with others to develop a new agricultural fair which debuted in January 1917. It was in 1925 that the roots were laid for the farm show that we know today. The show had grown so large that 40,000 attendees were traveling to various sites all around Harrisburg. During this year, the Pennsylvania State Department of Agriculture took control of the event, and the legislature had decided to appropriate money that gave birth to the Farm Show complex. Finally, in 1931, the main exhibition building opened and welcomed 150,000 visitors to the show that year. Over the years, the Farm Show has continued to grow. Various events showcasing animals, products, and skills were added to the event. The Farm Show complex has also continued to grow, with more buildings and arenas being added over the years. The count stands at 24 acres inside 11 buildings and 3 arenas. Today, the show hosts approximately 6,000 animals, 10,000 competitive exhibits, and 300 commercial exhibits, along with over 500,000 visitors. Since the doors to the main exhibition building opened, the Farm Show has become the world's biggest indoor agricultural event. Now you know.
Welcome back to Legislative Report. I'm State Representative Kate Harper, and the focus of today's program is agriculture. Earlier, you saw my visit to Freddy Hill Farms and learned how the Seif family has adapted to keep their farm viable through the years, 4 generations. So now let's take a broader look at agriculture and its place in Pennsylvania. And I have the perfect guest to tell us all about it. Joining me today is the Secretary of the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture, George Gregg. Mr. Secretary, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you for having me here, and thank you for allowing me to talk a little bit about Pennsylvania and Montgomery County agriculture.
Well, you know, you're a farmer yourself, and I always like to let our viewers know a little bit about you. The Secretary of Ag, they don't know, so tell us a little bit about you and your background, how you got where you are today.
Well, I'm a farmer from Crawford County, and that's the other end of the state from Montgomery, but Governor Corbett thought that it would be a good idea to have someone who understands agriculture as a Secretary of Agriculture. I've been in production agriculture all my adult life. My brother and I still own a 650-acre farm near Linesville in Crawford County. And we, in fact, just this past weekend finished planting the last of our soybeans. So we have all of our crops in except for the hay now. So.
All right. So 650 acres is huge by Montgomery County standards. But is that normal in Crawford County?
There are quite a few large farms in Crawford County that, you know, we're getting close to Ohio where it kind of levels off and, you know, the heads west into some of the greater ag areas.
So it's good topography. Is it good soil?
Yes, it is. And, you know, it's not as mountainous as some of the, you know, what we go through between here and Crawford County. It's not nearly as mountainous as.
Absolutely. I have colleagues who stay here if it's snowing when we finish session for the week till the daylight, so they don't have to go over the hills in the snow.
Yeah.
So talk to me about agriculture in Pennsylvania. Some people say it's our biggest industry. Would you say that?
It definitely is. It you know, we do $6.8 billion in cash receipts our farmers bring in, and that's $68 billion in economic impact to Pennsylvania. We lead the nation in farmland preservation. We're fifth in dairy products in the nation. We're third in butter. I think third in eggs also. So we're in the top 10 in many areas. Apples. You know, Pennsylvania is no slouch when it comes to agriculture.
You know, I think that's going to be a surprise to many of the people who come from Montgomery County because we have very few farms left, and I think they'd be surprised to know that Pennsylvania is actually a leader in farming.
Yes, and even Montgomery County in Pennsylvania, we have almost 490,000 acres preserved, and in Montgomery County, I think there's over 8,000 acres preserved in perpetuity for ag use. So.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's a project I've worked very hard on and have tried to preserve land so that people could still farm it, like the Sipes and other people, so they could do that. So tell me, where do Pennsylvania's products go? When you do your soybeans, where does it go when you take it in from the field?
Well, we send our soybeans to, it's called Bunge North America. It's a plant in Sandusky, Ohio. It's one of the larger crushing plants. And once they crush the soybeans, they get oil and they get soybean byproducts. The soybean byproducts are high in protein and they're used for animal feed and a lot of different things. People feed,
Right.
all that. But also the oil is used. It comes back to Erie, to Lake Erie biofuels, and they add that into diesel fuel, make biodiesel. So.
Wow, so a lot of uses. All right, now I know Pennsylvania's big in apples because I had the pleasure of driving through the middle of the state in the fall and seeing all the apple festivals. Where do our apples go?
Well, the largest market for apples is fresh market. That's the most coveted one. They like to sell their apples fresh. But
Just supermarkets?
yes,
Or?
supermarkets, farmers markets, and some customers that, you know, naturally get them every year. We were successful. We brought a company back to Lancaster County. It's called Charles and Alice. They're a French company that is going to make applesauce. Also, Naus Foods in Adams County they make applesauce and other apple products.
So most of our apples are just eaten the way they are.
Well, they like to have it that way because that's the highest dollar market for the apples. So.
Okay. Now, what are the challenges that are facing Pennsylvania farmers this year, this decade?
Well, regulation is always the number one thing on farmers' minds, and you know, it could be local municipalities, you know, the stormwater management and permitting, which we have to protect our environment, and so a lot of those are necessary. And I have to thank you and the legislature for eliminating inheritance tax.
On farms and family businesses, but particularly family farms we did first.
Yes, and I have to thank you for that, because a lot of farmers, that's why it didn't get passed on to second generation. Farmers don't have a retirement
sell the
plan.
land
Yes,
in order to pay the taxes, which
inheritance
is
tax,
terrible.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that helped out a lot, because we have about 58,000 farms in Pennsylvania, and we can't afford to lose those. And if we lose a few every year, it adds up. So eliminating the inheritance tax, which was signed by Governor Corbett, and passed by the legislature, and we appreciate the farming community. Thanks.
I'm glad it's working. That's what we hoped it would do, because we don't like the specter of having to sell the family farm to pay the inheritance taxes. That's just a terrible thing. But so that's an issue. Now, I know your farm's not in the Chesapeake Bay area, but I also know Pennsylvania's under some pressure from the folks, our friends in Maryland, to make sure that nothing washes down the Susquehanna into the bay and kills the fish. Is that something your department deals with?
Yeah, we deal with that quite a bit, and we work with DEP. And in fact, right now there is it's called a watershed assessment, and they did one of those in Mifflin County, a pilot program, where instead of punishing the farmers, they're going on and assessing what the farmers do, and then helping by putting some money to do some best management practices.
Maybe keep the cows away from the creek or something,
correct.
right?
Repairing buffer zones and best management practices like those. The Pennsylvania, I served on the U.S. Farm Service Agency, USDA Farm Service Agency, before I was secretary. And I know that there's over 250,000 acres that are dedicated to conservation practices, CRP, CREP practices. Right. And a lot of those are in the Chesapeake Bay watershed. So I know that a lot of best management practices have already been accomplished, and I think part of the problem is we haven't gotten credit for a lot of the best management practices because they didn't know about them. So there are practices that are put in place, and some of the other states haven't done the conservation practices and conservation methods that Pennsylvania has, and we're all starting out, from a certain point. Whereas
we should get credit for what we've done.
Yes, exactly.
Now, I know when I drive back and forth to the Capitol, I do see that farmers in central Pennsylvania are keeping the cows away from the creeks. And I guess, do we have any way of measuring whether that's working?
Yes, there have been scientific studies that show that the waters, they are cleaning up the water. Another thing I'd like to say is DEP and agriculture have been working together under the Corbett administration, and Secretary Bruzzo and I went to 2 dairy farms. We were in southern Lancaster County that have methane digesters on them, and we've also been in a mushroom farm together in Chester County, and we were on a roundtable discussion at Lincoln University. So we are working together, which that's good for the farmers instead of enforcement.
Right. It's actually good news that DEP and the Ag Department are working together, because I got to believe that most farmers would view the Department of Environmental Protection as kind of an enemy.
Yes, that's what it has been in the past, and a lot of administrations, the Agriculture Secretary and the DEP Secretary did not get along, did not hardly even work together. But we've had a very good relationship, and look towards making that even a better relationship to be able to help farmers all across Pennsylvania and Montgomery County.
Now, you've recently returned from an exciting trip to China.
Yes,
what can Pennsylvania do for China?
Well, Pennsylvania already exports a lot to China. I have to talk a little bit about PA preferred to kind of go into that, but PA Preferred is another program that one of the first things we did, when I got here, and I want to thank you for that, is make PA Preferred the permanent branding program for Pennsylvania ag products. And that's great because it helps us to sell local, and it helps our farmers to market their products. Well, we have had some buyer-vendor programs that have helped our PA Preferred entrepreneurs to get their products, their food products, into the grocery stores in Pennsylvania.
So they present their product to the Department of Ag. They pass and get the PA Preferred stamp or whatever, and then they can say that they're a Pennsylvania Preferred product.
Yes, and once they're a PA Preferred member, we invite them to some buyer vendor shows where if they're cooking, one of their product is cooking or ice cream or whatever, then we invite the buyers for the grocery stores in to taste, and they get, so they get a chance.
Fun job.
They get to meet and to sign contracts with them. Then we this past year we expanded it to exports. So we had 16 in Philadelphia. We had 16 companies from 6 countries that had come in and met with PA Preferred vendors. Now those companies had been in Boston one day, in New York the second day, and they were in Philadelphia when we met them.
So we were competing. Now, when you went to China, though, what can Pennsylvania farming do for China?
Well, we already export a lot of soybeans to China and a lot of Pennsylvania hardwoods. There are no hardwoods in China, so we have 14 million acres of...
Forests are big in Pennsylvania. That's why it's called Penn's Woods.
Yes, exactly. And so we have a Pennsylvania Hardwood Council that has been marketing to China. We have some Pennsylvania companies that export to China right along, and other countries. But while we were there, it was on a USDA trade mission, so I traveled with USDA for the first 10 or 11 days. And then we broke off from USDA, and we had 2 days of meetings with companies that buy from Pennsylvania. We're looking at a fertilizer company that may want to, that is talking about settling in Pennsylvania.
Might be Pennsylvania jobs there.
Yes, and also, that's Pennsylvania jobs, but also our natural gas supply. Natural gas is one of the major inputs for making fertilizers, so that's why they're interested in Pennsylvania, because of our natural gas supply and our accessibility to other countries and other...
Sure, we're the Keystone State. We're located in a great place to get to other places. So Pennsylvania farming's here, but it's going all over. And that's all the time we have for today's program. I'm State Representative Kate Harper. My guest today has been Secretary of Agriculture Greg. It's been a pleasure to have you, Secretary. And if you need assistance with any state government matter, feel free to contact me at my local office. The address and number will be shown in just a moment. Thanks for watching. Join me again for Legislative Report.